the father, and then the son is a academy player for FC Basel in Switzerland. So I'm going to invite him in. But before I do that, real quick, 1 second, I want to let you guys know again, I have a giveaway that ends on Sunday where you can get one of my 3 courses for free. I'm going to put how you can win right now in the comments. So win one of my courses for free. Use hashtag youth soccer is spit. My post. Done. All right, so I'm going to invite him in 1 second, and then we're going to get going because I have to be off by 3. So I got an hour for Eastern Standard Time. So give me 1 second, guys. Boom, posted that. And then if you guys have questions, man, we're going to try and get to them as well with him. So let me get him invited, and we're going to have some fun, man. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let me see. Hold on. Bro, we're going to talk about real world football. None of this crap that we have in the United States. Oh, yeah, perfect right timing. There it is. Senor Kai, is your dad with you? Hey, and Vic, my dog. There he both of them.
Just finished training.
How's the life in Europe?
Just about 30, 40 minutes ago. Just sat down and ate dinner.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah, it's going to be fun, man, because a lot of people are asking me, oh, what's it like in Europe and what's it about? And I think you'll have a great story to tell because you've kind of been everywhere. So I think that'll be amazing just for people to kind of understand what you've been through, how you've done it, and why. So, guys, just real quick that are in the chat. So we have, this is Kai. He's a 2007 birth year like you saw with Nick. So same age or same birth year. He's in Europe as well. He plays for FC Basel's U16s, correct? Or 17s? 16s. He plays for the U16 Academy team. And he's been over there for a year, correct? 2 years. So this is his second year, and he's gonna share about his story, what he's been through, why, and obviously I'll have questions. And then if you guys have questions that are in the chat, please feel free to ask ASAP, okay? And then we'll try and get to them. So, really, can you just kind of explain like what it's like being an FC Basel Academy player?
You get the privilege of training with the best players and some of the best players in Switzerland and bettering yourself at a very high level. You got great coaches to support you anytime with anything, always looking to push yourself and get you better. I mean, you have almost everything accessible to you to get better. So, yeah.
It's just all work, huh? And what is training like for people that don't know? Is it an easy session like we have here in the United States where kids can get away with murder almost? Or are you constantly being challenged and pushed? Or what does it look like for you?
Monday and Tuesday, we start off pretty hard because we came back from the game and from our game on Saturday, and we're getting back in the roll of the week. Tuesday usually is pretty intense. Thursday is intense. And Friday is a very technical, tactical session. And Tuesday and Thursday.
So lighter day on Friday.
Double session. One in the morning and one in the afternoon.
Oh, double. Nice.
And so,
That's important. So you train 5 days a week, and then on one of the days you have a double session, right? Make sure I understand.
Tuesday and Thursday. Both.
2 days. What's the other day? You guys hear that, man? So here's the key. I love this about this because it's correct me if I'm wrong, but FC Basel's trying to develop kids to reach the first team. So you guys need to be training, but the key is doing the right thing. So how long are your sessions? I'm curious. So hour and a half to 2 hours. So you don't need to be out there for 4 to 6 hours a time. I don't recommend it, but if you do, okay, that's your choice. But that's what we do. So can you kind of walk through your story a little bit? Because I think you have a different situation than most people. You've had parents that have kind of traveled the world and whatnot. So can you kind of walk through like where you've been, at what ages, why, and whatnot?
They are interested in giving me and my sister the best experiences and the most experiences around the world culturally. So I was born in the U.S., but I was only there for a short amount of time, 2 years. And then we moved to Egypt. I'm still very young. 3 from 3
How old
to
were
like
you when you
5.
went to Egypt?
That's when I started to play football there, or kickball. You're young, you're just playing football. And then we moved to Beijing, and we were there for 3 years. after Egypt, in Beijing. I think it started to realize that football might be something up my alleyway and my passion. Still young though, still just enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Then we moved to Costa Rica. I'd say Costa Rica was where I was really getting a little more serious into playing football, and I played for an academy there called Saprissa. And even there, at a young age, we had three times a week. We'd have training at 5:30 in the morning before school, and you'd get up at 5:30, you'd go train, you'd shower, and then you'd go to school. Yeah, and so a lot from a young age. And that was my first experience with physicality, in football. That's very, I mean, Latin America, if you watch them play in their countries during World Cup and stuff, they're very physical teams, and that was my first experience. I mean, I thought I was being bullied when I was playing there.
So before you continue, can you kind of highlight this part about the physicality? Because especially, and I don't think you have a ton of experience playing in the U.S., but we have a huge issue of, especially parents, overly concerned about fouls. And obviously there are fouls and there are things that are contact. So can you kind of explain what that's like?
It's either controlled or it's not. I mean, you can understand when somebody's out to get you, and it's not just physical intensity, and it's just straight out to harm you. And so it's just very stability. Having stability is main part about physicality and stuff. It's not about going for the big slide tackle and all that stuff. It's just having going in for it with your shoulder and being ready for it. Yeah, contact. There you go.
All right, contact. Yeah, allowing contact.
Went to Shanghai.
So after Costa Rica, what did you do? Back to Beijing?
There, I'd say I learned more. That was my lesson of team experience, and because I had other great players on my team that were in Shanghai. I mean, my coach put together some of the best players in Shanghai, and so that was a great developmental point for me. But yeah, Shanghai, I think I started to realize that the level was a bit lower for me to be able to continue to grow. And from Shanghai, I moved to England at a boarding school while my parents stayed in Shanghai. And I moved to England, and I was there for 2 years at a boarding school.
Yeah. So I want you to talk about this because this is huge, and this is what I think people don't get. So you had to make a big sacrifice doing this. So what age were you when 11, you first, 12. Right before you went to England? So you were roughly what age? So he's 11, 12 years old, and then you made the decision because you got an offer to go to a boarding school in England. So a whole nother country, not even the same country, obviously. And you decided with your family, and they gave you the permission to travel and go to another country. Have you ever been to England before that? No. Visit. Yeah, never to play football. You were there on vacation. Got it. So, and I think people don't understand the sacrifices that players like you that have a goal to get somewhere have to make. So guys, listen to this. He left his home with his family who were residing in China, and he got an offer to go to a boarding school in England. He was there for, you said, 2 years? On his own. On his own. He had to make a sacrifice, and he made that choice. And the question always becomes how much are you willing to sacrifice?
I'm going to chime in here real quick.
You gave up something, so that's why you're at a level you're at.
That was the decision he made, and that we supported. It wasn't like we were pushing him to go to England. I don't know any parent that would push their kid to go an 18-hour flight away at 11 or 12 years old. So that was definitely something that he decided that we were like, okay, we can support this. So.
Yeah. Well, and then, so can you kind of attest to why you made that decision
I knew,
to leave your family?
I mean, that was during quarantine too. And so before COVID, COVID had hit, and we were in quarantine, and I was just doing a lot of drills and a lot of stuff, and I had
he's asking for the decision why you decided to go to England.
I realized I had seen the level, I had realized myself that I was not going to keep growing in the environment that I was at, and I was already putting in the extra work after training and doing the extra stuff, and it was just not the environment I needed to be in to continue growing and becoming and my I think
So
my
on
big
that
goal
note,
is to play
what
for
is
the
your
US national
goal?
team. That's my
Like
biggest
long
goal.
term?
Is to play for them in the World Cup one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That,
Yeah, but I'm assuming you want to be a professional soccer player or a football player. Okay. So again, one thing I want to attest to is like he made a decision because he has a goal to get somewhere, and you got to make sacrifices to be able to achieve dreams that you have. So really important that people understand that. So cool. And then can you kind of walk through after your 2 years? I mean, I know you personally, but you did very, very well in England, right? So can you kind of talk about that briefly, and then
big,
what happened after that to
turning
get you to where
point
you are now?
in my football life too, because I not only was the level all around good. Like England's a different style, you know. It's physical, it's technical, it's fast.
Yeah.
And so I had to adapt to that. And so because of that, I trained hard. We had a lot of trainings there in the boarding school because it's mainly like a football academy. Like it's big based around that. And I went up U16. I was in U14 and I played U15 and U16 there. Yeah, and I was yeah. I was playing up when I was there.
You were playing up. You weren't just playing your age.
2 years. 2 years up.
And how many years up? Was it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? So important. And I've said that, guys.
So
if you're good enough, you
even
up.
then, even
but go ahead.
When I was at a better environment, I was still putting in the extra work myself. I mean, waking up in the mornings, some mornings we'd have to sneak out of the house to go and train, because if we didn't, the alarm would set off and they would know. But yeah, I learned a lot there with extra training and putting in the extra work because I saw for the first time that there was other kids that were putting in work and really wanted to be pro too there. And so that was really like a switch to me mentally, like, all right, there's other kids working hard. I need to work equally or more or harder to be able to be the better player. And so I was trying to find, and I found a bunch of extra time in my day to better myself.
Right. And so can you kind of talk about how the transition from England, I think you went back to China, right? And then you got the offer, you didn't get an offer, walk through how you got to FC Basel kind of.
I mean, I'm kind of lucky to be able to get in contact with FC Basel. One of the head coaches in England happened to have a contact here in FC Basel. And we put together a trial video and sent it through. They had a look, and then we came here. I had a long trial period and then ended up at Buxwood, and they ended up sending the video, and then I got my trials here.
Boom. So the key is for people, man, and he said it without saying it, the key is networking. You have to have connections to get you through the door. You can be the greatest player ever, but if nobody knows you, nobody knows anything about you, or you don't have contacts, it's over. So really, really important. So I want to kind of transition this conversation into like what motivated you, or what desires do you have to do this? Because your dad highlighted a little bit, but you made the decision to go to England. So the question becomes, what motivated you to want to have this desire to be doing what you do?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
to become a pro,
me, in
or
anything
to go
I
through
do,
this
I always try to
process,
be the
if that
best.
makes sense.
Do my best and be the best. And I just see, I've seen that I've been given a gift, and I know I have a pretty strong mentality, and it just pushed it. Even just the simplest things that I hear or get told, like my dad, he'll never push me, but I might be sitting somewhere and he'll be like, "There's another kid working hard right now," and just that little thing of knowing that there might be another kid working equally as hard gets me to go up and do something and go train.
So speaking about your dad, so the question, and you've kind of talked about a little bit, let me rephrase that. Has he forced you to ever practice? Or does that come from you? And
when I needed help, so if I ever needed help to be on track with something, with training or developing a plan on how I want to do something or what I want to get better, they'll support me and they'll help me all the way through. But it's never been them saying, "All right, you have to do this. You got to get up now. You got to do this." They're only there to support me. Yeah.
Yeah. So your dad's still there, right? Yeah. So I got a question specifically for you. So like I've I've known you guys for a while, and I think you've done a tremendous job supporting uh, Kai. Can you kind of talk about like some maybe tools and things that you've done? Because a lot of parents here, I feel like, are the ones that are making the kids do stuff versus letting the kid determine his outcome and his dream. So can you kind of talk about like
I think a lot
decisions
of it
that you
comes
made
down
to help kind of
like
guide him on the right
conversations,
path?
having open, honest conversations. Like here at the house, we make it a point that no matter how busy our schedules are, we sit down at dinner together, and at dinner we'll chat, right? And so my questions tend to be, you know, very open-ended questions to give him a chance to talk, and then from that I kind of listen to what like the hidden messages might be, or the not spoken words might be about, and it always comes back to, well, how can we help you with that? You know, whether it's school, whether it's football, whether it's, you know, social life, whatever it is, how can we help you with that? So it was never a hard push. I remember when he was really young, being in Egypt, I would just make sure to go out and play with him, right? And there was no drills, there was no cones. We would just go outside, kick the ball around. I might make him move from side to side without letting him know that I'm making him move from side to side. But, you know, being a physical educator, being an athletic director, you know, if it's not fun, kids don't want to do it. And so it's been important for us, for me and my wife, to make sure that he was always having fun. And so keeping the fun at the forefront of it. And then again, like you said, whispering in his ear, you know, once he told us that he wanted to do something with this or try to do something with this, whispering in his ear that, you know, there's people out there that work hard. There's, you know, those guys on TV don't just roll out of bed that good. Like, they put in hours, right? One of the things I've shown him lately that we kind of go back to often is the iceberg, the image of an iceberg where you see the tip, right? But nobody sees everything underneath under the surface, right? And so there's so much more under the surface. And that goes for any of the guys on TV or the girls on TV that you're watching play professionally. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into that. And all we can do is support, right? And so I think we mentioned this on the podcast we did with you a couple months back. Like, if it comes to a point where he doesn't want to do it anymore because it's not fun, then we'll cross that bridge when that day comes. But I'm never going to force either of my kids to do something that they don't want to do.
Right. And I made a comment or a video about this. I'm like, you can throw whatever amount of money you want to at something, but you can't, like you just said, you can't force the kid to be like, hey, I'm going to actually make a decision to do this. So a second question I have for you is like, okay, and I don't know if you've ever done this or not, but like, how do you handle game day for yourself when you're even when he was younger, when you were watching him play? Are you sitting there berating him the whole time, like, hey, I need you to run here, do this, or like post game?
So
what does that look like?
I can go way back with this and give you some context. So he was selected for a team that played at the FC Barcelona like international tournament. So he was part of like the first U.S. representative group to go to that tournament. Yeah. And there was a couple parents there who were super loud and over the top. And the first night, he told me in the hotel, he's like, I really need you to stop yelling. And I'm like, I'm not yelling. I was like, it's not me. And I was, you know, tell me more. He was like, yeah, well, it really makes me, and I know it makes the other guys nervous. And so from that point on, he was 5 or 6, I think, at that point. From that point on, I made it a point to separate myself from the other parents because I didn't want him to mistakenly think it was me yelling. And then it's funny, when you're not around the yelling parents, you don't really yell anything. You just kind of watch the game. And so since that moment, and again, doing what I do, I know it's a best practice. I separate myself. I go to my own little corner or side of the field. I watch the game quietly. And then nobody says anything, especially here in Europe. Parents don't yell at all here in Europe. You can literally hear the boys on the pitch talking to each other, the referee talking to the boys, the coach yelling their directions and instructions throughout the game. Parents don't say anything. So it's great here. But even here, I still separate myself a little bit because I just want to watch the game. I want to enjoy watching him play. I know this isn't a forever thing. And so for me, I want to sit back and watch it and enjoy. After the game, I know this is a big question, maybe some things that have come up. I think you posted something recently about like post-game talks with your kids or whatever. We've got to the point where we don't say anything. When he's ready to talk, he'll talk. That could be right after the game. That could be tonight. That could be tomorrow. Just let it be. It's on his time when he's ready to talk. So That's kind of how we approach, game day parenting and things on the side of the pitch.
What about this is a great question. What about if he had a bad game and you're
so
pissed?
I'm for sure not going to touch it. He's still going to be thinking about it tomorrow or whenever he decides to talk about it. It doesn't just magically go away.
Yeah.
Well, and the beauty of it at this level, you can always go back and watch the video. Right? So it's not like me as a parent, I don't have to tattoo it in his brain that this happened at this time in this situation. Nah, we'll go back and watch the video. And he usually sees it for himself, where he's like,
Right. Well, and Kai, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is something I think a lot of parents don't understand, is when you make a mistake, I'm sure you've made a mistake. So you don't need somebody telling you, hey, by the way, you effed up, you did this, and you should have done this.
You understand you made the mistake, and then someone comments on top of it, and you don't want to be rude, so you're like, thank you, but you made the mistake.
Yeah, because especially here, like I see it all the time. Like there'll even be games where kids will finish playing, and then you see the dad go up to him, and he's on the field. He's like, "Hey, this, that." Then I'm like, "Dude, your kids. Can you just let the kid?"
Well, it's the same
enjoy
thing
the
for
game,
coaches
like
too, right?
Like that's why kids are quitting at some point.
Football, basketball, whatever it is you're playing. During a match, it's highly emotionally charged. People are trying to do their best. They're thinking a million decisions a minute, trying to figure out which is the best one. And that doesn't just stop at the end of the game. Your brain just doesn't automatically shift to, my son Kai. He's still football player Kai processing after the game is over, right? And so approaching a coach or a kid after a match is never a good idea, ever.
Terrible.
It's even worse than respect the space, respect
especially if you don't win.
What just happened over, in this case, 90 minutes. Let some things chill out a little bit. Let some reflection and some processing happen. Yeah.
Right. Let it calm down. Kai, this question kind of goes back to you because this is something that I've been really impressed with in terms of like your work ethic and stuff. Is I've done a lot of sessions with you at least here, and I always see you like physically preparing yourself before training. When did you get in the habit of doing that?
I think it's important, and once you get
why
to a high
do you
level,
do it?
To have a routine. It's before games, whatever works for you, to get you in the mindset. I'd say only recently have I started to have found my own routine with what I like to do and what I need to do pre-game for myself. Not everyone's the same with what they need to do to get ready for a game. So I know for me, like one of the big things is music. I only listen to Afro beats before games because it gets me in a happy mood. The beat isn't too quick. And so literally with music, I feel if the beat is too quick or someone's rapping on it, that my brain is like, all right, go quick. And then when I get to the game, it translates to that. And I feel Afrobeats is very much just go with your flow and enjoy the moment and stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. But like when you did training with me when you were here, you would always do a bunch, probably like 10 to 12 minutes, like physical preparation.
Warm and
why did you do that?
Mindset for your training session. I mean, you got to understand that your body needs time to warm up. It needs time to get into something. You can't just go from doing one thing to the other without easing into it. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because the reason I wanted you to talk about it is because, again, here, kids will just show up, and then they jump in immediately to something. And I'm talking about guys your age. I'm not even talking about younger kids, because younger kids, you can get away with it obviously more, but I'm just like, you guys need to actually go warm up, prepare yourself.
It depends on
and do you do a cool down as well? Like, do you decompress? And
not right after training, because it's already late by the time our training finishes, so I got to get home and eat dinner, especially on a school night. But if I do have an earlier session that it ends, I'll come back, I'll do some yoga, I'll do some stretching. And I know a big part of our family, and not just me, is ice baths as recovery, taking cold showers in the morning. I mean, it's not just the cold shower just to say, yeah, I did it, or the mental, like, oh, I'm hard, but it actually has a lot of physical benefits. So, yeah.
That makes makes a difference. So then, can you talk about at your level, like diet and nutrition? What do you eat on a typical meal? Are you eating fast food?
No fast
Or, you know, what do you do typically?
But my diet's a lot different than most people. As I don't know if you know, but I'm gluten free. I'm celiac, which means I can't take gluten, which is wheat and flour. Which means that my intestines don't really absorb as many nutrients as most people. So I have to have a lot of, like, I'll have protein shakes and stuff to get the extra supplements. I'll take supplement vitamins to just give me what I do miss out on a normal meal that others will have. But my mom cooks a lot of stuff, understanding how having a balanced diet, I mean, vegetables, proteins, carbs, it's important to load up with everything, especially after training. Not often, no. Not
what
really.
about, like,
a lot of it just
you drink
water
sodas
or
or anything like that? Yeah, because again, something that I'll highlight is, especially here, you know, kids will be, you know, parents will take their kids to KFC or McDonald's between games and stuff like at a tournament, and it's like, don't do. And I've no joke. I've even seen the kid come up with a soda in hand before a game, and I'm like, what? I'm like, come on, man, I can't. So it's crazy because people don't get again the sacrifice and dedication if you don't want to be average. So can you explain like what a typical meal looks like for you?
I mean,
I know you have a gluten-free thing, but like, what does it
at
typically
least
look
on
like?
the
Like
plate,
an average meal you
broccoli,
eat?
broccoli, green beans, and then we'll have something with beans or protein. I mean, something heavy with protein, and then carbs like rice. It's easy with, if you get like a thing of salmon or a piece of meat, you get some rice and you get some vegetables. I mean, it's important. It gets a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Right. So a nice balanced meal. Yeah, that makes a difference. So, all right. So people are going to start asking some questions. I see that, but what I want to do is I got like 3 more main ones I want to talk about. So can you kind of highlight like the positions that you play now for SC Basel?
I play multiple
do you play multiple positions, or how does that work?
A very flexible player. I'll play where the team needs me. My main positions are left wing, right wing, and occasionally I'll play 10. But yeah. I definitely think
and what position do you think you excel
I
at?
excel in different areas in each position. I can really play all of them.
Yeah. I guess a lot depends on who you're playing against, right? Because you guys probably have a scouting report that says this is what the other team does and what we need to work on. Yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, cool. So can you kind of talk about, in your opinion, and Vic, if you don't mind giving the same thing as well, since your son's at this level, what is the difference between a guy that's in an academy like yourself and the average player?
And understanding the work, the extra work you have to put in and the sacrifices. It's easy to say I'm going to go out and train, do something, but a lot of times some people say I'm going to go train and they just go kick a ball. It's actually going to train and putting the work in, drills, exercise, everything. And the mental strength that you have to endure and to keep going each day, to repeat it, to know that the outcome is not going to be right now and that it's going to pay off and you're going to have to keep working. It separates you from average player.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for my side of it, like looking at it from the outside,
So Vic,
the difference between an academy player and a non-academy player is the ability to make the right decision quickly and efficiently, so throughout the game, right? So when I watch them play compared to like my high school teams or whatever the case is, their speed of play is crazy fast, which means that decision making is crazy fast. And so having to have that amount of repetition at that kind of speed and that kind of intensity, it's hard to match that, you know, unless you have a trainer kind of like yourself, you know, you put guys into high thinking, high intensity situations, or you're at the academy where you're constantly rubbing elbows and shoulders with elite players who are just as physical as you or on your same physical level, if not more, you know, and so that separates people. I think, you know, it goes back to the whole 10,000 hour rule, like, and it may not be 10,000 hours, but it's the fact that you put in a lot of work at a different level than everybody else. And then all the other things kind of have to just kind of happen, right? That we call it luck, right? Somebody sees you, somebody takes you in, somebody gives you a chance, Those are the things you can't control, right? But the things you can control, you maximize. And so it's the drills, it's the nutrition, it's the good habits, it's the right mentality. And so when those things are in place, it only takes one person seeing you, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to get your chance. So,
right.
Yeah.
I like to say fortune favors the brave. So if you're doing the right thing, something will pay off for you. Luck does not happen very often where, you can have one good game somewhere and you get away with it. Because the one thing I was going to add is, this is really a question, because I see a lot of good players, like skillfully, they have good ability, that, they know how to position themselves or whatnot, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices that you have, Kai. Like, they're not willing to change their diet. They're not willing to make sure they go to bed at the right hour. They're not willing to, like, this is one thing we haven't talked about. This is really my next point. Gym work. Are you doing a lot of physical training?
Yeah,
like, what do you do to stay at your peak
physically
performance?
Smaller than the rest. I'd say earlier this year, very early, and last year, I was physically immature, like
not physically developed yet.
And so I knew I had to fix something, and I know my dad could help me. And 2 times a week we do strength training to get my legs stronger so that I can. And it's been now maybe 4 or 5 months that we've done it, and it's dramatic changes with how I'm able to hold off defenders and fight for the ball.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like hours in the gym either. I mean, we spend a half hour, maybe 45 minutes max. I mean, but
so you mean you don't have to be in the gym for 3 hours to build
one of those things, right?
base and
Knowing
muscle
that he's in season. I didn't want to put a heavy tax on him his first time, like, actually lifting. Yeah. So him and I both sat down, like, all right, what's the most bang for your buck that's not going to get you hurt, but that is going to make you stronger? And so we've gone to deadlifts, pull-ups, and push-ups. Basic movements. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need high, crazy reps, or it doesn't have to be plyometric, explosive jumping. It's literally just those 3 things twice a week. With a good amount of weight. I mean, we're lucky enough to have that here at the house, so we don't have to go to a gym or anything. And it's enough to see a difference. Like, literally, one of the things we talked about often, and he just mentioned, was his ability to, like, grab a hold of somebody, because it is a part of the game. You do grab people, and they grab you, right? And he's able to hold them off or fend them off now, because his grip strength is just ridiculous. And so even just having that part gives a little bit of an edge when he's in one-on-one duels. So.
And again, I think that's something that's completely undervalued, is building, we'll call it like the footballing body. You got to have a football body. If you don't build you can be the best technical player, so to speak, but if you don't build the footballing side physically, game over, for lack of a better term.
Because you bigger and stronger and faster.
The game keeps changing. So, and then and then let me ask you this. So this is I want you to talk about what is the level like in Switzerland? Like, is there, like, for example, here we have a huge, I call it a epidemic of kickball. Do you guys, are there teams that play kickball, or is it, what does it look like?
Highest renowned clubs in Switzerland, and it's well known around Europe. To give you a little perspective on my team itself, and compared to other places, we went to last year a tournament in Croatia against the Croatian national team. We beat the Croatian national team. We played one from Turkey, I think. We beat them. We played RB Leipzig, and we tied with them, or Salzburg, and we tied with them. And then we ended up getting to the finals against Man City.
Salzburg,
we're up 1-0, but unfortunately it went down 2-1. But it was a good fight. It was an equal fight. I mean, it was close. It was just unlucky.
Were they a better team than you guys, or is it close?
They were a little more mature than our team.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, we're not far off from everyone. Yeah. Like, it's a high level.
I mean, your teammate.
Yeah. And
19.
How many players are on your team?
20.
Like, on your roster for the U16?
Half of my players on my team play for the Swiss national
team.
So
how do you?
I'm training and playing with some of the best guys in Switzerland.
Nice. Right. And then, so how do you deal with setbacks? Like, let's say, for example, coach, you probably play a lot of minutes,
Yeah.
but let's say coach says, hey, you're not starting today.
I mean,
you only got
as I
10
mentioned
minutes in
on
the
the
game. If that's
podcast,
ever
everybody
happened,
has watched
how
theirs
do you
on back.
deal with that?
It's on you. I mean, clearly there's something that you're missing yourself.
Yeah.
That I'm missing. That coach
Yeah.
is like, all right, he's not ready for this game or something. And then it comes into my hands to go up to the coach, and that's what's really important is going up to the coach and understanding his side or her side and understanding why you're not playing. Go ask. Don't be afraid to ask, why am I not playing? Maybe it's just the coach is like, I just wanted you to rest this game, or we thought it better for this person to play. And then you're like, okay. Whereas if you wouldn't have asked, you wouldn't have understood. And if they did have something for you and be like, you need to improve on this, then there you go. You have something to work on. You have a new goal to work on to be able to get your minutes.
Right. Yeah. And so is it you asking, or is it your dad going, hey, let me go talk to the coach?
Yeah, that's not tolerated here. There's not a whole lot of parents in Europe walking up to a coach to ask any questions. Like, that's left for the kids.
What? So you don't think it's in your best interest as the parent to go have a conversation with the coach? Oh, man, that's too funny. So, cool. There are a couple of questions I do want to try and hit because people are asking. So one of them was,
I play
does he play U17 or what is the level? That's a question that somebody asked. U16. Sweet. And then somebody asked if, Vic, you are a former professional.
Yeah, no,
you
not
can
a
kind of
former
explain, I guess, what your role is or what
athletic
you do.
director.
Somebody asked that question.
Have been for a long time. And again, I mentioned I'm physical education background, so sports has been a big part of my life. I did play baseball at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. And so I am an athlete, longtime athlete since the time I was 5. But no, not a professional by any means. Absolutely. No, yeah.
But no,
mindset,
what it takes to
mentality,
get players
growth
to a good
mentality, that has nothing to do with any specific sport or any specific industry. Like, that works for everybody in anything and whatever you want to do. So, being an educator, clearly that's where I excel. And so, it's a lot of reading and a lot of learning about those kind of things. And, I had mentioned in the podcast too, great books.
Right.
Growth Mindset by Carolyn Dweck is very scientific based, but applies to everything. And I've used a lot of those principles, with both of our children, trying to help them reach their goals. So yeah, you don't have to be a professional to implement.
Right. And then one more question for you. Somebody asked, what's the biggest concern you've had as a parent?
The biggest concern we have is probably just the distance, the sheer distance. Like, if something were to go down, it would take us, 18 hours to get there. A direct flight would be 11 and a half and cost several $1,000s. And so that was probably the scariest thing. Right. But we didn't send him blindly either. I mean, he went for a trial there. I went with him. So I got to see the campus and meet the adults that were going to be in charge on that campus. And then in that situation, you're required to have a guardian. We were lucky enough to have a really good friend of ours that lived in London, which was about 2 hours away. And her husband, hi Wade, if you're watching, her and her husband agreed to go ahead and sign on as his guardian during his time there. And if you don't have somebody personal like that, there is a group that you can essentially hire to be your guardian. And then you get to know those people as parents, and then they check in on your child here and there. I mean, he was in England during COVID. I mean, that's another level of like scary, right? And so it all worked out. Again, focused. He kept focused. He kept doing his thing. And so, think.
Yeah. So was there anything in the back of your mind as a parent, since now we're talking about COVID as well, like not even in the back of your mind, was there like a thought like, hey, just because of this situation going on, we're not going to send him? Or, what decision did you guys make, or like the process, I guess, of, okay, it's okay, or like so back and forth?
When COVID first happened, and I mean, in China, it was like January. In Europe, it was probably like March, April. And they shut the school down. Yeah. I flew back to pick him up because they were going to shut the school. We already knew in Asia the severity of what this was going to do, right? And so we're like, all right, they're not going to be in school the rest of the year. And they're not going to start up again until August. At that point, that's several months. It's best that he comes back home with us. So he did. But we always knew he was going back in August, as long as the medical situation, the COVID situation was semi-okay. Like, he had this drive, and it was just us as parents making sure we could check our emotions to send him back. And, he has a dream. We want to help him. And so we swallowed our pill, put our big boy and girl pants on, our big mommy and daddy pants on, and we sent him.
Yeah. Right. But so what about before that? So before COVID, so the first year, I guess, like when you guys were making the decision, were there eere thoughts like, I don't know if I should do this, we're not comfortable with it?
Like, they always
like,
knew
how did you guys come to that decision?
Point. When I was 8 or 9, I'd always been saying I was going to be ready to go. I mean,
so when our daughter, who's older, some of her classmates, when they finished grade 5, went off to boarding school. So he would have been in like 2nd or 3rd grade. Then he started asking questions like, what's boarding school?
Got it.
Do they have that for football players? And we were like, yeah. And he was like, I'm going to go to one of those. And so even from just an early age, he had this long-term vision. And so it was always there. We didn't talk about it all the time, but it was always like, oh man, he's going to leave. He's going to leave. And so like for me, it was probably a little bit easier than for my wife. She spent many nights crying while he was away. But that's normal, right? That's going to happen. And I had to keep it together. I'm just sure there's plenty of nights where I wanted to cry. But I had to keep it together because it's what he wanted. And I didn't want him to worry about us. Right. So we just made it a point to just be as strong as possible for him.
Right.
Because he's very aware of how we're feeling in any given situation. And so we never wanted him to worry about anything.
Got it. That makes sense. That's great. And it's good that, again, you had the motivation to say, even from a young age, hey, this is what I want to do. And as parents, you guys supported him to do that. That's freaking awesome. Because I see a lot of parents here, like, they go, oh, no, you got to live the normal life. Normal life's not the right thing. Oh, you need to go to college. You need to get a job. You need to, like, fit the system. And it's like, well, people that reach success or find success don't fit the bill. They, here's the box. They break the box, and they go around it or through it or whatever. So it's great because I had a conversation with a parent not that long ago, and he's like, well, I want this for my son. I'm like, yeah, but what does your son want? It's great that you want this for your son. What does he want? And we're talking to a kid that's close to his age. And I'm like, it's great that you want him to go to college and do all these things. I'm like, that's great. But we're talking about what you want. But this is the kid that makes the decision, not you at the end of the day. So it's very refreshing to see. And I think that just is a testament to what Kai's been able to do, how he's done it on his own a lot of the times, and just the kind of level you're at now. Because I think you said it said it best is, if the parent is forcing something, the kid will never get there. It has to come from the child. The entire thing has to come.
Sometimes you have to swallow the emotional pill and be like, this is what's best for their dream. And just the solace in that is that if it doesn't work out, I'm still there as a parent to help them when they fall, right? They're not going to like fall and hit the absolute bottom. I'm going to come catch them when that time is necessary.
And when did you piece this all together for yourself in terms of like, hey, it's okay to support and not force? Were you always like that? Or was it like, there was some sort of switch in your mind where you're like, I can't act like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we come from supportive households just growing up in general. But I think more is in just the reading, like reading the info that's out there, not just getting on Facebook and reading what this parent thinks or what that parent thinks or what the latest highlight is for whatever. Like, get out and read a little bit, educate yourself. There's plenty of resources out there to help you be a good sporting parent, right? If sports is your angle. And the same thing holds true if you're a music parent. It's fine. They're all similar. The toolbox is similar, regardless of what it is you're trying to aspire to be.
Right.
Yeah. But I think both of us being educators, I think we understand
the same boxes essentially.
What's good for kids, right? And then what is detrimental to kids. And yeah, we've lived it. Yeah.
Right.
So
you've
having that knowledge and understanding
lived it. You've been
helpful in our situation. And again, do we do everything right? No, of course not. Nobody does. But you try to do what's best, again, with what's within your control.
Of course not. Yeah, nobody's perfect. Yeah, and that's what I say for people here, because that's my argument with like soccer clubs. I'm like, everybody's just ripping people off and taking money. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can make money doing it, but just try.
And you're not always
going to
win.
right
And you're not always going to be.
You might make mistakes, of course.
That's okay. There's a process
fine.
involved in that. Did we learn something? Are we something I ask all of my teams and all of my coaches that are in my programs? Are we better today at the end of the season than we were at the beginning of the season? Would our team today at the end of the season beat the team we were on day one? And if the answer is yes, you've had a successful season. Yeah.
That's a win. Yeah. And let me ask you this question, Vic, real quick before you jump. How important is it to you, like when he was younger, for him to win like tournaments, to pick up that $3 trophy or that $3 medal?
Not honestly.
Is that ever important to you?
I can't imagine, again, because we've always had this mentality in the house to what I just explained. Like, are you better? Can you learn something from this? You know, he's always wanted to beat everybody and everything since he came out of the womb.
Right.
And so we had to try to like rein that back a little bit, but not too much, because you don't want to quench that competitive trait, right? That's a good trait to have as an adult growing up, right? To be competitive and to strive to be your best. So there's a delicate balance there, but, you know, we had to pull back, and it became, you know, what'd you learn?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you think you could have done better? What could you have done differently? And so it goes back to those dinner table conversations with open-ended questions to try to help him without like forcing it down his throat. So yeah, the $3 trophy didn't mean much. It's cool to win it because the kids feel good about it. But if you can reframe what's important, then it doesn't become like a celebrate or cry situation. It just becomes it's just another learning experience.
Right. Amazing, isn't it? And a question that came in is, when was he discovered as an elite player, and at what level was he playing?
When I was discovered as no, I would put. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to correct you. Sorry. In Costa Rica, I think was the first time it was like an elite situation, right? Because not everybody. It's not like you sign up and then you go to practice at 5:30 in the morning. It's you had to be chosen to then go to the 5:30 a.m. practice. Right. So, yeah. So it was selective, and at that time, what do you like 7, 8,
selective,
something like that. Yeah, and then while we were in Costa Rica,
so he already had a good level when he was younger.
And their team was actually the whatever they were, U9 or U8 elite team, and that's when it was like, okay, now there's a title. Now there's this we've been put into a category now, right? And I think at that point he was probably as parents we were like, okay, wait a minute. He might have something here. Let's make sure we provide the best situation for him, the best coaches, the best trainers.
Right.
Yeah. Anytime we moved, we always looked for UEFA or FA certified coaches to work with him, right? Or to be on those teams. So I guess it was probably about 8 or 9 where we're like, okay, wait, we might have to do a little bit more than the average parents do for their kid.
Right. That's funny. And then there's a question for you, Kai, and it says, how do you deal with not knowing other players, like when you travel, or, you know, or other, how do you deal with that? Opponents, maybe teammates, like, so let's say when you first got the FC Basel,
just understanding that
how did you deal with that?
You got to go in and do your best.
Good question.
That's all you can do. You can only go in and do your best, whether there is a kid better than you or you're the best on the team. When you go there, you can't set expectations of, oh, I was the best here, I'm going to be the best there. It's just going out there and playing your best and doing your best. There's nothing more you can do.
I'll jump in real quick. Other players recognize effort too, not just talent. And so when you're putting out the effort, people recognize that and appreciate it. So that helps as well.
Yeah, and I'll add this, like, when you go out and you go somewhere new, you're not there to necessarily make a friend, but let's say you're on a trial, like you were on a trial with FC Basel, like you got to show. And if you're sitting there being nervous, and I mean, should you try and like connect with the guys? You probably did, but you weren't like, hey, I'm here to be your friend and stuff. You're like, hey, nice to meet you. Cool. Yeah, I'm Kai, blah, blah, blah.
You got to earn your spot. You got to show
them to work right away. Otherwise,
that you're not only replacing a guy that's the same level as you, but you're better, and that you're better. And that's why they need you in his spot. And it's not just, oh, he's at the same level. Well, this guy's already in the team and has the connections, you know, it's not necessary. Right. It's, oh, he's better. All right, we can work with that. And he can form the connections and stuff. So, yeah.
and piece it together. Yeah. All right. And there was another question that came in. They were asking, what's the cost per year for soccer boarding school?
Buckswood full cost without a scholarship is somewhere in like the $40,000, $45,000 range. I mean, but that includes all your food, the lodging, and the training and the education that comes with it. So, I mean, that's something that you have to sit down and do the maths at home to see if it makes sense. But yeah, boarding school anywhere from 40 to 60,000. If you're not on a scholarship, yeah.
Easily, yeah. Yeah. And like, IMG, like even IMG, which is in Florida, right now it's $90K a year. So there's ones that are just kind of silly price.
Yeah, that's
but if you get the scholarship and they help you out, that's a completely different ballgame. So, any final questions, guys? I don't want to keep them too long. He's got to get ready to go to sleep, and I don't want to be keeping up him too long. So get your final questions in. I know you guys are slightly delayed behind what we're having a conversation on, so we'll give you a minute. If you got any final questions to ask?
Coach Kyle, we're gonna switch phones because my phone's about to die, so we're gonna switch really quick.
Yeah, go ahead, switch. So again, guys, he's going to come back on in about 3 seconds. If you have any final questions, ask it. I don't want to keep him out too late, so he's coming back on right now. Give him 1 second. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so he's back on. There he is. All right, so the same person asked, how does one get a scholarship?
I went for my trial.
Boarding school, or
just
is it
about showing
college?
what you got and doing your absolute best. So yeah, show them what you got. You got to be able to show that you're worth the scholarship, that they're going to sacrifice the full salary, like full price that you pay.
So yeah, our situation was a little bit different. One of his former coaches actually took the role of head of football at that boarding school. And so he gave the invite, 6 to 8 months after he was already there. Rafa, if you're watching, thank you. But it's as simple as like Buckswood School. We're still in good contact with them. It's ample. You can reach out, send an email. They'll respond. They'll probably ask you for highlight videos, right? And then after that, if it's something that they're interested in, then they'll ask you for a trial. It's the same kind of process as a football club, right? Like you reach out. Obviously, if you know somebody, then it's a little bit easier when that happens. But otherwise, you can reach out, provide the information and the videos that you have, and then let them make a decision whether they want to pursue it. It's not anything you can force.
That's it. Yeah. It's pretty simple because, again, the situation that you guys have to understand, the situation that he was in, going to boarding school, going to FC Basel, is it's not, hey, I'm paying money and I get in. You have to earn the right to be there. And I think that's a huge misconception because here, from a cash cow perspective, I've never seen them actually cut a player. They might say, hey, you can't be on the top team, but you'll be on the second team, the third team, the 15th, the 16th. It's a completely different environment. So let's see. One more question. That's not a question. She said thank you. Okay. So, any final questions? I'll give it 1 final minute. I don't want to keep them much longer because, he's got to go to sleep and get ready for the next
we got
day.
playoffs now.
You got a game this weekend?
So tomorrow starts the first day of game of playoffs.
Oh.
Home and away games. So tomorrow's an away game.
So if you lose, are you knocked out, or what? Is it like a group stage?
Yeah.
So it's like Champions League. You play home, play away, winner moves on. Got
it. Yeah, it was
and you guys were at a game last night, conference league, right? How was it?
Great environment. Second leg.
It was the second leg. Yeah.
First leg, second leg? Yeah, so they're out. Damn, that's too bad. I was rooting for them. I didn't get to see anything about it. Somebody just asked, what's the length of video you recommend when sending to an academy or club? Also, do you put in all the positive and negative content?
90 seconds to 3 minutes max. Nobody wants to see more than that. They've got other things to do with their day, which makes it difficult. And you can have 2 or 3 parts. So you can have one video 3 minutes long, a second video that's 3 minutes long. Again, if there's enough in the first video, they might look at the second one. If they're going to look at the second one of interest, they're probably going to contact you anyway.
Yeah.
So 90 seconds to 3 minutes is what I would recommend. And what was the second part of that question?
It was, do I think
Yeah, I
it's,
think if
yeah.
you're trying to highlight,
You only put in
what
positive
your
play or
child
negative
is
play as well.
capable of, like what they do well, what their strengths are, and then if there's interest, they'll ask for like a full match, and then they'll analyze the full match, and then they'll see, you know, the times that they bobble the ball, or more importantly, what they're looking for is how you react after a play. If you lose the ball, do you hustle back to get back on, try to win it back? It's not so much that you lost the ball. People are going to lose the ball all the time. Yeah, it's the reactions that they're looking for.
Happens all the time. Yeah, what's your reaction to it? Yeah. All right, and then somebody asked,
it's very
what's
high.
the respect level like between
we all
you and your
understand
teammates?
we all have the same goal. We all want to push each other to be better.
Yeah.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's you and yourself wanting to get to the top. You're not going to go out of your way completely to help another dude get ahead of you. But the respect is there. I mean, we all understand we're at an elite level right now, and that we're all putting in the work, and we're all working hard to be up and holding the trophy and winning. So there's
Building success. Yeah, because he then wrote, obviously you're competing versus them, but he said obviously you're competing versus them.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
your teammates, but
at that
are you
level,
happy
we're all
for
expecting
the
each other
success
and
and
hoping
vice
for each
versa?
other to make it. It's never a jealous thing. Oh, he made it and I didn't, or why is he up there? I mean, currently we had one of my teammates, a strong center back, really great player, one of the best I've seen, and he's got bumped up to the first team and he played a match with them. I was psyched. I mean, a lot of my teammates were psyched for him. It's awesome to see one of your teammates go play for the first team and play in a stadium. I mean, that's everyone's dream. No, one of the games he subbed on late, which was
he started.
One of the other games he started. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's probably motivation for you to be like, hey, he's doing it. I can get there now. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So that's good. So guys, I'm gonna let them go because it's late for them. You know, obviously they're in Europe, and I want to say thank you to both of you guys for coming on and sharing. I think this is huge, especially from a parent perspective, because it's like, again, I'm very happy to see what Kai's done and the value I think, Vic, you've brought as a parent to him, just giving him the freedom to make his own decisions and stuff.
I want to thank my wife,
you don't
his
see that
mother
much,
as well.
especially here.
Just as supportive.
So I really
just kind of sits in the background, but she's always there just as supportive. So it's not just a one-person situation. It literally takes a village, you know, grandparents, uncles, but they all have to understand what you as a parent, like what your message sounds like, right? And what it is. Everybody's on the same page. So.
Right. Yeah. And you guys don't settle for nothing less than the best, and I think that's so important. And that's huge. So you guys have a good night, man. I'll let you guys go. I got to get off anyways, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. We'll talk